I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. The January 6th committee has hit back hard and slammed former Vice President Pence for his weird and bizarre appearances he's been making on news networks where he's been attacking the January 6th committee and lying about how the January 6th committee was formed. All of this because former Vice President Pence is promoting a book. At the end of the day, former Vice President Pence was the target of the assassination attempt by Donald Trump on January 6th. As one commentator put it, is former Vice President Pence's book also going to lack a spine? First, let me show you the appearance, or one of them, that former Vice President Pence made where, it looks like he's short-circuiting when he's giving these appearances, and he talks about the January 6th committee, and he goes, it's a little bit too partisan for me. Here, this is so bizarre. Play this clip of Pence.
Do you intend to ever sit and answer questions written in person for the January 6th committee? Do you believe, though, that the public deserves that? Is this interview it? Is this book it? Or will you answer questions about that day before Congress?
Well, I shared my heart and I shared my story in this book, and we'll continue to speak openly about it, I expect, to some degree for the rest of my life. But from the time that January 6th was formed, and every member was appointed by the Democrat Speaker of the House, I was concerned.
Your chief of staff spoke to them, Mark Short, your legal counsel, Greg Jacobs, testified. But you don't want to engage with them at all?
I served for 12 years in the Congress. It's inconceivable to me that one party would appoint every member of a committee in Congress. That's antithetical to the whole idea of the committee system. That being said, I never stood in the way of senior members of my team cooperating with the committee and testifying. But Congress has no right to my testimony. We have a separation of powers under the Constitution of the United States. And I believe it would establish a terrible precedent for the Congress to summon a Vice President of the United States to speak about deliberations that took place at the White House.
So you're closing the door on that entirely?
I'm closing the door on that. But I must say again that the partisan nature of the January 6th committee has been a disappointment to me. It seemed to me in the beginning there was an opportunity to examine every aspect of what happened on January 6th, and to do so more in the spirit of the 9/11 Commission, nonpartisan, non-political, and that was an opportunity lost.
Okay, and everything former Vice President Pence said there is like a complete and utter lie. And how do you just have no spine? Like, how do you sit there as the target of an assassination attempt by Donald Trump? They literally tried to kill you. And you go there and you're saying that the January 6th committee is partisan? All of the witnesses who have testified before the January 6th committee, most of them work for you. They're virtually all Republicans who either worked for you or worked for Trump, who have testified in ways that were trying to demonstrate that you were the individual who the insurrectionists tried to kill because of Donald Trump. We're trying to get to the bottom of an insurrection here. When I just watch that, how cowardly is this individual? Here, let me read for you, though, the January 6th committee's response to whatever the heck that was. It says, Thompson and Cheney's statement on former Vice President Pence's interview. Chairman Benny Thompson and Vice Chair Liz Cheney today issued the following statement. The Select Committee has proceeded respectfully and responsibly in our engagement with Vice President Pence, so it is disappointing that he is misrepresenting the nature of our investigation while giving interviews to promote his new book. Our investigation has publicly presented the testimony of more than 50 Republican witnesses, including senior members of the Trump White House, the Trump campaign, and the Trump Justice Department. The testimony, subject to criminal penalties for lying to Congress, was not partisan, It was truthful. Every member of the Select Committee supported the creation of an independent bipartisan commission. After initially such a commission, Leader McCarthy withdrew his support, and the bipartisan plan to create the commission was defeated by Republicans in the Senate. The Select Committee was formed only after the proposal for an outside commission was defeated. Leader McCarthy had the opportunity to nominate 5 members of the Select Committee. Speaker Pelosi initially accepted 3 of those nominees and invited Leader McCarthy to propose 2 others. Rather than doing so, McCarthy chose to withdraw all of his nominees and refused to participate at all, so that he could make the false claim that the committee was entirely one-sided. This was a cynical choice by Mr. McCarthy. In fact, both the vice chair and Representative Kinzinger are Republicans. The Select Committee has consistently praised the former vice president's refusal to bow to the former President Trump's pressure to illegally refuse to count electoral votes on January 6th. But his recent statements about the Select Committee are not accurate. And while the midterm elections were an absolute repudiation of the type of MAGA extremism that was calling these insurrectionists political prisoners, when Vice President Pence himself was the target, the main target of the assassination attempt led by Donald Trump. Vice President Pence is so spineless that he's saying that the January 6th committee is too partisan. The January 6th committee, which has gathered its information from former Vice President Pence's own inner circle, from his top advisors, from the top Republican advisors who worked within the Trump administration. It's what I've always said about this MAGA Republican, movement. Look, there's so much things wrong, so many things wrong with it. But one of the things that I always come back to is just how weird and cowardly it is. Like, who could sit there and respond like that after everything that took place? That is like delusional, weird stuff that is hard to even articulate, other than it just makes me physically ill to watch that. Like, what in the world is that? You have all of the MAGA extremists. They run away. They don't want to testify. They refuse to testify. They talk a big game. They'll give interviews. They'll promote their books. But why would they ever testify under oath? They make up all of these excuses. And then they sit there and they talk in those interviews. Like, look what Pence. It's like a weird robot. I don't even know what that was. It's hard to describe in words just how strange and odd and cowardly it is. But I show you that video. I'll do another video on the town hall that Pence held, which, again, he like short-circuited. It's some deranged, weird stuff. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your support. Also, consider becoming a patron of the MeidasTouch Network by going to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. 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 There's lots of great exclusive content on our Patreon site that you can only get at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. But most importantly, we're not funded by any outside investors. So no millionaire or billionaire outside investors. Those same people who fund the both sideism media and who fund the pro-fascist media, we don't deal with that. We are purely funded by your generosity. So if you can, wherever you are in the world and you love this independent media network, I know you subscribe to a lot of things, so don't worry if you can't, but just give us a try. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch and consider subscribing there. It will help grow this community together. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs. It wasn't rigged, you're just a loser. At store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.